thinking on the south side, remember where the inspection, that's something you're gonna put those in the map.
These are, this is the whole bunch.
All right.
This is a,
Yeah,
Okay.
but what we're doing is
Might as well get it all.
going toward cash.
Oh, okay.
probation.
That way, cause that would be where your people,
Key.
Okay.
they drive in, they don't see when they go down
Yeah,
further
they
north,
would.
and they go further north.
Okay,
That's where we wanna get.
all right, that makes
See if
sense.
they had carpet tile, they could fix it.
That's right. Okay, it is the appointed hour, sorry, we're about 5 minutes late. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This meeting will be conducted in compliance with Nebraska's open meeting laws, a copy of which is on the back wall. This is primarily around probation and some leases and where they wanna be and where they ought to be and all that. So Jerry, if I could, I'd like to
Sure.
let you kind of take over here.
Well, as you know, from time to time, these leases come up on the consent agenda. And a lot of times I get feedback like, we don't know anything about this. So I just want to let you know that we work a lot with probation. There's been a lot of changes in probation. There's a lot more space needs for probation. And what I wanted to talk about today specifically was that they are in a South Omaha office now on 24th Street, near the, or in the former Phillips department store. They've been there probably 15, 18 years, Tim, is that right? They don't have enough space for what they do. They have a lot more programming that goes on, a lot more classroom activities. They just don't have the space. And if I can speak for them, most of their needs are dictated by what goes on with the courts and what goes on with the legislature. Adding more officers, and then they come to me, we need more space. With that, a lot of their data is based on their activity within the zip codes. That's why the South Omaha location will be probably moved coming up maybe in February or March to, we don't know for sure yet, but either 42nd and Center at the Center Mall or in the area of 50th and G, which we're already there with the Treasurer's office. And that's another part of this informational setting, so to speak. We have a Treasurer's office on 30th and Weber. Been there about 15, 18 years. John Ewing,
Always longer than that.
longer than that.
You've been around for a while, Jerry.
Longer than that. But what I'm saying is that he has upgraded his branches and his customer services. He left South Omaha about 8 years ago.
Probably, we moved a little bit.
So he
10 or 11.
he did the same thing. He didn't have the same confidence in that area. That was 24th and F. A lot of complaints from customers, and it's a much better setting now, and things have moved that way with the population. So when I've been talking with Tim Sprackle from adult probation, we have talked a lot about their needs for upgrades for square footage. We at one time they had a location at 42nd and Redmond, which you were aware of.
Right.
They needed more space. We went to 73rd and Blondo. We're now up to 12,000 some square feet. And there's more issues coming from Lincoln to expand programs, give them more officers, which creates a need for more space. With that, I've been working with the treasurer on the North 30th location, and I thought we had a situation where it would work. where they would vacate 30th and go to a new location off of 72nd and I-68. Then I'll let John speak to that, but now Tim has indicated that he can't staff that 30th location. I was gonna give him some relief in a lease that we already have that goes through, I think, 2021. So those are the things that we deal with all the time, and you don't see them until they go before the board. And I'll let John kind of expand on his in particular, but keep in mind that what probation is doing is almost a mirror of what John has done to upgrade facilities.
Okay.
So if you want to just
Sure.
briefly,
I'll be brief, but I'll remind you all that about 10 years ago, I believe it was, we moved from 24th and F to 50th and G. We did that for a number of reasons. One was to get a smaller footprint and save the county money. We went from 9,000 square feet to the present number that we have today. But it was also to improve the amenities of the facility and improve our customer service center, customer service south of Dodge. Because what we did by moving a little bit further west, we actually got more people from West Omaha to come to 50th and G. And then that relieved some of the pressure on 144th and U. What we're proposing now is to do the very same thing in North Omaha with us going to the Fitzgerald home. We are at 153rd and Maple, and then 30th Street. That's a 123 block gap. Most of those people north of Dodge are going to the Fitzgerald Center. What we'd like to do is move to 72nd and 680, which would put us more centrally located. Also reduce the size of our facility now that the DMV is no longer there, and reduce the cost to the county. We would go from $52,000 a year for that lease to $28,800. The other thing it would do is allow us to strategically even up, and I'll show you a chart for July, the numbers for north versus Maple and then south versus Millard, if you want to pass those around. Millard and South taking out driver's licenses, which they still process at Millard, would be almost dead even in terms of the number of customers. That reduces wait times in West Omaha as well as making it easier to staff when you have about the same number of transactions. At North and Maple, Fitzgerald home, you actually have a significant gap right now in terms of the number of people going to the Fitzgerald home versus going to the North Omaha location, which means potentially longer waits at the Fitzgerald home. If we move to 72nd and I-680, people who are west would actually come to that 72nd location, and we even up the numbers, as well as I've already told you, reduce the cost. The last thing is it gives us a chance to upgrade the facility. If you look at North, some of you might remember the news story about the big potholes in the parking lot and the fact that people wanted to blame the treasurer's office for those things, and we have no control over whether or not those things were done. This facility just finished their parking lot. It would give our employees access to a break room and things of that nature as well. And then currently, citizens, when they go to our North Omaha office, because of security concerns, since the state is no longer there, there's nobody in that back area. So they have to ask our staff if they can go back to the bathroom, which is not an acceptable level of customer service, but we have to make sure we know who's back there so we don't have any security issues. This would obviously alleviate that as well. So those are the reasons we're looking at moving. Let me put my reading glasses on so I can tell you what we're looking at here. If you grab the North Maple chart first, we just looked at the month of July because that's our highest volume, and that was the first full month that we had no driver's licenses being paid for on our side in North Omaha. And if you look at that, you can see a significant difference, about almost 13,000 transactions versus probably about 7,300. So almost double by going further
Can I ask you a quick
west.
clear? So John, tell me, what is this number? Is this square foot?
No, that's a code.
No,
for
that's
each
just
office.
our office
Oh,
codes.
okay, all right, never mind. That's what
Transactions
matters.
are.
All right, okay.
I asked the
But
same
if you
question.
look at the number and you look at us moving to 72nd Street, we believe those numbers would even up, and then that would reduce customer wait time out west. It would also allow us to staff more efficiently, because no matter how many customers you have to have a certain minimum level of staffing at each customer service center in order not to hear the complaint that you all hear most frequently, there were only this number of people at the window. And so we're looking at that image issue as well. Now, if you look at the next sheet, it's Millard and South, you'll see Millard had a significantly higher volume,
I don't think we got that one, but go ahead.
Those were two different ones.
All right.
but that includes driver's licenses. If you take away driver's licenses, then those numbers would be almost dead even. And that's what we're trying to do with this relocation on the north side of Dodge. And then still keep our Four Corners approach along with Midtown that we've talked to you all about for probably the last decade, as well as we think significantly increasing customer service and reducing costs. And last thing I'll say is the long-term plan for us with all of our locations is reducing our office size at South and Millard in particular. The state will be out of Millard probably sometime around April or May. We need to look at adjusting that space there so we're no longer paying for that space on the driver's side, and then eventually do the same thing at South as well. And then we'd be right-sized and save the county a significant amount of money.
Well, this all sounds good and exciting. Some of my neighbors will miss Weber Plaza. I mean, I know
Sure.
that, you know, that's kind of my neck of the woods. And in fact, I know we've been there for a while. 'Cause one of the first things I did as a commissioner was step in. We had somebody who wanted to give us a lease, saying, this guy isn't living up to all the things he promised you. I sat down and met with him, and they did eventually live up to him. That was a long time ago that we had that meeting, trying to go to double pane windows and things that they were supposed to be providing, but they haven't been. I'm not envisioning the space at 72nd and Worldtown Drive. I know where that is, but I mean, is this an existing building that you're
It's
talking
an
about?
existing building. If you come off 680 right at 72nd Street, make a
south.
right turn, go south. Is it the first turn
ConAgra building?
in?
Yes, ConAgra used to be there.
Yes.
Yep.
ConAgra's old building,
Yep.
the old space.
But we'd just be taking a part of,
Yes.
of it.
And
Yes, we'd be taking a
MVD.
small space.
Oh.
The
MED
AD
is.
headquarters is a separate building.
Yep, separate
Okay, but
building.
we'll still be neighbors with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different, separate building, but they're very close.
Okay.
Now, I have a hurdle to get over, and that's the lease at North 30. And I'm working on that. There may be a solution to get us out, because potentially there's another tenant right next to us that wants
Ah,
their space. But being, you know, folks that are in the business, if you've got a lease, you're stuck with the lease. So we're working on that, but these are the things that we do all the time. And you probably don't hear it enough, because then we present it to the board on consent, and everybody says, I didn't know about this.
well, and this part goes easier with Commissioner Boyle off at a luncheon, I must admit, and he'll probably, you know, have a few words when it does come up for action. He seems to have a different strategy of how to move forward,
Yeah.
but no, I appreciate giving us some background, and letting us know what's going on and,
Yes, it's
and
good.
what's happening.
I think
Well-
the highway patrol's in the one on 72nd
You're
and
correct.
680.
It would be across the hall.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They are, yeah.
Oh, nice, nice.
So we've got security.
Good
If we get
neighbor.
in-
I might just add too, that besides a smaller footprint, the price per square foot is expected to be less than what we're paying now, so it's
It is.
a double
Over a dollar.
benefit.
Less than at Weber
Less.
Plaza?
Yes, sir.
Well, because of the years of the,
Yeah.
the
Wow,
different
okay.
increases. And that, you know, that brings us to another situation that involves the treasurer. We're probably going to, renew the Midtown on Cass Street, for 5 years and get a 10% reduction. And if you remember, that's also including the sheriff's office. I talked to Tom
The
Wheeler
vehicle
on that, Tim Dunn.
And I can speak to that a little bit, Jerry, too, when you're done, if you want.
No, I just, you know, these are all
Sure,
things that are on our plate all the time that
sure.
come up. But one other thing, and then I'll stop. We had, not that long ago, 22 leases, we're down to 13, but I have to add in the election office, which is moving today and opens tomorrow. In case any of you want to file for office.
Can't do that to the first.
Well, they'll be the new place, so Chris, you gotta go.
I know when that- I know when that-
So one of the things I'll just point out about the Midtown location is with this new Victory registration system that we have, we no longer have the ability to use the microfilm people downstairs for making copies of the titles and all of those things. We actually have to do that ourselves now.
Oh,
And so
And
we
that's
are,
a statute, correct?
yes.
That's a
What-
statute.
What we are
They
going
need to
to
follow.
do is utilize the space that used to be our training center and our dealer center to be able to have us basically a copying center to be able to make all of the copies and store them for the length of time we're supposed to store them and all of those things that are required by state statute. So we will be using every inch of that facility now.
Where are you talking? Are you talking here?
No, I'm talking about Midtown at 84th and Cass.
Okay,
We're
right,
looking to
right.
extend that one
All
for
right.
another 5 years with the 10% discount.
Okay, got it, got it.
And then the other thing we're looking to do there is add to the counters so that we can have more staff there to be able to process people who are coming in for renewals only. Because right now we get the out-of-town people and we get the renewal onlys, which take about a minute or two standing in line together, and they're standing behind somebody that might take 15 minutes. We can get them in and out much faster by having them go to the renew-only
Okay.
line.
Okay, Commissioner Ferguson.
Do you have charts for your other branches like these?
The only other branch would be the Midtown location.
And the 50th and
No,
Do
they,
you have that
you have
one?
50th and G is
No,
there.
I've
So
got it.
it's there, okay.
Yeah, so
So
you-
the-
you have everything but Midtown.
But that's just for 1 month.
Yeah, and that's just for 1 month, so you can see clearly.
Could we get the Midtown?
Sure.
Okay, other questions or comments? And Tim, we haven't included you on the, I mean, you're part of this conversation. I would, give us some input. What do you think for probation?
Well, I really, she goes down on the chart, thank you guys, and I'll do this without it, but we're on 24th and O, we're on 84th and Spring and 83rd and Spring, and we're on 73rd and Blondo. We did that 20-some years ago to get in the communities to be accessible. We want to stay that way, but finding space, because we've grown, has become very difficult. We moved to 73rd and Blondo with hopes and having a good space for our north office. But what has happened is the clientele that are reporting to north office are gang or domestic violence, are high-risk people, and we've got a small lobby, and it's turning into a smaller parking lot, and it's getting to be hairy. So I need to do something there. And then our South Omaha office 20 years ago was great, but today with groups and things that we do with probation, classes in the evening, et cetera, we need classrooms. They have a great big hallway down the middle of a lot of space that's just not utilized. We have offices there, and that's it. We use the break room, and we use the back area with chairs in a circle to do our groups, to make it happen. So what we need is more space, but it's better not more space technically, but better utilized space, where we can run groups in a closed door and have these meetings with 12 to 15 probationers at one time.
But your needs are actually growing with time. I mean, your staff is growing.
And our staff has grown from less than 100 employees back in 2013 with PRS and everything. I'm up to 140.
Okay.
From under 100 to 140. And that includes drug techs, clerical officers, the works. We drug test between 150 and 200 people at the Blondo office every morning. Wow. From 6 to 9 a.m. I mean, it's a zoo between there. And if I got gang members coming, if I got DB coming, you can imagine what that lobby ends up looking like. And I have to test these people. And don't want to get on the soapbox, but we got flooded in Blondo, flooded, and I had to close down testing 3 or 4 days. I had to cancel testing, and I can't afford that. They've done some work with it. The owner's been working with us, trying, but it's been.
Okay.
So we're looking at different spaces and things we can do. We want to stay within the zip codes. That's why south, if we move, we're just going to move a little ways, or 50th and G, whatever we talked about, would be fine. We have one officer at south that supervises 700 people. These are low-risk people that just got in trouble. We put them on a reporting, they call in. But eventually they have to report once in a while. I mean, those are the things that happen with probation. And then we've got the high-risk people that supervise are very high risk that need to. A lot of work is done in the field. We have 16 state cars that we do a lot of field visits. We do a lot of home visits. We do a lot of things with that. But we still need the office to do our assessments, to see the people when they can come in and programming. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Commissioner Brooks.
Thank you. So where would you go for the north?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, the site.
I don't.
Well,
We've got a couple ideas.
We have
Go
a
ahead.
plan, but it's not gonna work. We were gonna put a piece of Blondo to report to North 30th. And does that change, or will it work out, or will it not work out?
It depends on the space and what, I know where it is, and I don't know what the space would look like, or what we can get it to look like, and what I would do there, but it would help. I don't think it's a solution. If it's that small.
24th, too far east,
No,
if you're near Ames,
no.
there's a church.
It depends on the size and then what I would move there.
And how many feet are you thinking roughly?
Well,
If we kept Blondo and moved to another office further north, further east and north, you know, I don't know, what do you think?
It
Probably,
can't be any less than probably 8,000. I'm just thinking, and the one thing I just want to throw, since we're throwing numbers out there, contractually, we bring in providers, provide groups, all, the plans and probation. Right now, we're spending just over 200,000 on those contracts, but that can easily increase when we have size. We're asking officers not to hold groups because we can't accommodate. So that's kind of where we're at, is we're giving our contracted providers the first dibs on the space, but we can easily increase that and double that, but we don't have anywhere to provide it.
What you said, Tim, about 73rd is really a challenge. I've been over there, just the city, because I knew the parking was an issue, and it's really tough. And then to get people that wanna have it in their area, and I don't mean neighbors, I'm just talking about the center where the building is, you can't hardly have anyone else in the building hardly. It's tough.
one of the big complaints we get is that the people come from West Omaha to the 73rd location, and then they run into everybody who's there. And you have issues with fighting, you
Yeah.
have issues with police cuffing people and walking them out through the lobby. We've been trying to go out the side door to alleviate that, but you can only do so much. I mean, our gang officers, just to give you an example, are strategic as to when they report and who reports when. Whether a CRIP reports here, or a blood reports here, and when they report, we have to keep that. We can't have this
Really tough.
thing. In South Omaha, we keep them south as much as we can to keep the.
Commissioner Brooks.
Thank you. Sure do. So the West Omaha folks go to the Blondo one?
Blondo or Spring.
Oh.
Found or Spring, yeah, we've divided the zip codes by population and who we get, kind of strategically placed zip codes. So when they come to our office assigned to probation, we look at their zip code and assign them to that office.
Oh.
But domestic violence, all report noise. We do have some in the south, we tried to do that because it just helped a little bit, so west of Dodge was south and then north of Dodge. South of Dodge and north of Dodge, we ran with DV and tried to separate that. It's hard to do, because our zip codes keep changing.
Right.
With PRS, we've got them all over the city. Domestic violence is at Rondo, and they just travel. They've got state cars that live in it. They just travel, but they have to report sometimes, so you report to Rondo.
Thank you. Okay, well, I sure appreciate your input, and kind of an odd thing where the county is responsible for providing the space. It's kind of like the courthouse. It's in our best interest for you to have enough space to do your job well.
I just want to add too that Spring and Orlando are reporting centers, and a lot of the funding from the state to open those reporting centers, funding came from the state. I don't know the dollar amount, but it was several $100,000 to open those as reporting centers. I would like to get a third somewhere and talk to about maybe helping funding a third reporting center, and it'd be more northeast. I mean, that's in the future, but things aren't changing. They just keep expanding for us, so Jerry's been working with us and done a great job. Fantastic job helping us, and with the new landlord at Londo, it's been rough, but we can work through it.
Yeah, and I was gonna comment on that. They had an event there based on a lot of heavy rain, so a wall went down in the back, flooded, started to flood the entire area.
Okay.
So, Jennifer, by the way, is a Chief Deputy Finnegan. She has Dave, Jeff, and I on speed dial. If we don't hear from Tim, but we have worked well together, and it's really difficult. We do have a new owner, and when I made the contact with him about his obligations, you know, without going through the whole thing, I haven't met him yet, but he's been in Europe, and he'll be back this week or next week. But he's doing what we asked him to do, which, you know, in his mind, we need to stop the rain so I can fix the wall. And he has spent a lot of money, which I said, I hope you have insurance. He spent a lot of money. But along with that, Jennifer and some of the staff have spent a lot of time out there on their own to keep it open, with opening doors, opening windows. They did go out, we had them do a mold test. There's an existing situation. They treated with ammonia and et cetera on Saturday, which caused them to have to alert their staff that you're gonna smell something when you go in. And that's the treatment for mold. So, we're working on it. They're not happy with it, but we do have a lease, and until we find a way to break that lease, and where do we find 12,000 and some square feet for that kind of fee? I don't know. We're working. So, thank you to.
Well, thank you. Good conversation. Okay, and this is the Midtown.
Yes, the Midtown
figure.
location.
Thank you for your quick, Trustee Borgeson.
Thank you, Chairman. So Tim, with LB 605, have we seen an increase in your visits, if you will? Because is there a way to track that in some way that we could put a dollar amount to it?
I can check into it. There are some numbers out there. 686 just passed September 1st, which gave judges the discretion on felony force, which has alleviated the problem. They don't have to put them on probation anymore. If they're convicted of felony 4 and they sentence them to a
only
term of
felony
incarceration. The felony 3 and 3A still are, the 4s went away and that was good. That was 50%.
That was the big one.
That was 50%. that's gonna help a little bit.
But what we're seeing is PRS numbers are dropping on felony fours, but probation on felony fours is going up. So instead of doing PRS, they're going kind of putting them on probation. So that's where we're kind of seeing those numbers now switch.
It's hard to get numbers because you don't know what's gonna come in the future, but I can get you what's happened in the past from my administration.
That would be of interest to us, because again, just because of space needs, if that increases because of those laws, if you will, increasing the space needs for your, department, then that has a direct impact on us as counties too.
We were doing 70 plans in the jail a month since PR started, so that means we went and visited with 70 people a month that were placed on probation. That was an increase. And then the ones that come out of prison, it took a year or two from the onset of the law for them to serve their time and then be released. So we get those people from prison that come to us also. And Omaha kind of, in a way, got more of those because we have the treatment, we have the places, and when they come out of prison, they have nowhere to go. They say, oh, and the housing, the state passed the housing where we can pay for their housing up to 90 days.
Right, but the law made it so that if they violated, they don't go back into the state system, they come to the county system. Well, state being probation, I get that, but they're now either in the community or they are now serving their time in our jails. So what I'm trying to put together is the effect on cost to counties because of those things. So from the beginning of it, you know, yeah, and then of course the change that you just said, I want it all, I want that, all the big picture.
And then I just wanna update a number I gave you. Our budget for 2 years of contractual services is $522,000 that probation is paying on contractual service programming here between our two reporting centers in 2 years. So again, more space, we can increase those dollars very easily.
Thank you. Good discussion. Okay, anything else on the lease discussion for probation or the treasurer's office, the coming moves? I appreciate having a glimpse of what to be expecting. Then we will move next to the corrections construction update.
Yeah, treasurer, sheriff's.
Like this all.
You got one? So,
I need to watch that anyways.
You sure?
Yeah, I do. I need my back and stuff.
just quickly, thank you to Mike and Amber for attending.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you're busy.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Absolutely, thank you.
Appreciate being on board.
Oh, absolutely, we always try to make sure that there's no guessing when it comes to what we're trying to do.
Very good, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so Mike and Amber, gonna step up here to the plate.
Mike is gonna step up.
He's gonna take this along. You know, obviously, we have completed phase one, and we're on phase two. And I'm gonna have Jeff kind of jump in here and update that phase two. But what I can say through this whole process, with the moving of inmates and doing construction, it's been wonderful, in my opinion. It's gone pretty well, and it's a lot of coordination for him and his staff, including Amber, to rearrange these movements so we can go from one mod to another. And I'll defer now to Jeff to upgrade the phase two, but we're gonna get there.
Just an update on the, phase one was the 1988 building. Phase two is the 1976 building. Currently, we're about 80% complete, which seems a lot, but going up the cost, all the materials in, so that bumps it up. Basically, we have 4 housing units left to do. We're in 2 right now. We have 2 more to go. When we go into the gym, the schedule's running out to September 2020. Hopefully we can gain some speed, but we go into 2 units and it takes 78 to 80 days to get those complete. And there's just so much you can do in there to accomplish what we're doing. It's a complex project. We're putting in new HVAC systems. So the old has to come out and the new has to be energized, and keeping the rest of the facility up is the challenge. We've accomplished it, but it's a complex scheduling project. There's about $2 million left to be paid on the project for the contractor. Joe says we have enough money. Right? We do. And this project basically consisted 10 interior housing units, replacing doors and controls. The old side used to go up there and use a key, so now it's all electronically controlled. Fire alarm systems, new lighting, interior cell upgrades, shower upgrades, things like that. So I think you guys can talk more about the improvement and the morale of things there, but it's going well for the complexity of the project. So knock on wood, the remaining project will go that way.
Very good. Commissioner Kraft.
Yes, you said we're working on 2 units. When will those 2 units be done that he can occupy them?
The 2 units take about 78 days, and then they turn them over, and we go into 2 more units.
Okay, so you've got a lot of units open already, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
we have 10 units, we have 4 left,
Okay.
plus some miscellaneous.
So it's alleviating some pressure on you.
Well, it's not getting worse.
Okay,
We tried.
We swap a unit for a unit.
Yeah, it's-
You know, we'll move a whole,
okay, yeah,
when they're finished, when the construction's finished, we move all the inmates into that unit from another unit, and then the construction goes
I
into
should have
there.
known that. Okay. And, did you say we're over budget or something?
No, we're under budget.
Under
At
budget?
this time,
Okay, good.
yes.
I thought you said costs went up or something.
Well, we're 80% complete for the pay applications, but all the material's been purchased, which bumps that number up.
Okay,
Usually it's probably, 70%,
okay, good.
65, 70% actual.
And I'm very grateful to Public Properties for coordinating all of this. There are so many moving parts, and we do our part to kind of work around them, but this certainly wasn't my background or forte coming into this job, so I'm grateful for their expertise. And then the big date to look at is probably that July 1st approximate, when the last 2 housing units are done. And then we go into the gym and renovate that. But that's when we'll have our full bed capacity at that point. So, and we can it is problematic for us to utilize the gymnasium as a housing unit. It's less than ideal. We make it work. We get complaints, but we do everything we can to work through those. So that'll be a huge thing when we don't have to use that gym.
All right, very good.
One other thing, we have LED lighting throughout and new windows. So
Sight lines are very
sight lines are good.
Great, very good, very good. All right, anything else for the good of the cause?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for the update on all this, Jerry and Mike. And we will stand adjourned.